Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Podcast by Army podcast, where we talk about BTS, Army, fandom, and research. We are your co-hosts, Dr. Kate Ringland and
Jhertau Her, a university researcher.
And today is another special episode.
We keep doing this. We need to stop doing this.
I feel like we were just here.
We were. And we're here once again. I have to edit this, so try to keep this short, which is a mistake because we will inevitably talk forever. But here we are. So we're here to talk about the BTS comic. The one by, I believe their current name is Tidal Wave Productions. So there's a B-size comic that's going to come out soon by Eric Esquivel, who works under Tidal Wave Productions. Now, this comic, a lot of armies have already known about it for a little while, but it only recently came to people's attention because there's different publications who wrote about the release of this comic yesterday. Things like K-Media, trash publications, maybe possibly in the US. But just like a variety of publications basically talked about this, and now we're all having a conversation about it. Here we are. It's an episode to talk about it because, oh boy, is this a lot. How do you feel about, I guess we can first start with the Billboard article about the release. Let me give some context here. Tidal Wave Productions announced on Thursday, January 4th, that BTS will be the latest subjects of its Fame manga series in Fame BTS, which is due out on January 10th. The 22-page comic, written by Eric M. Esquivel, was illustrated by manga artist Lucy Arts, will be available in digital and print formats across a variety of platforms. The print version will be sold in softcover and hardcover editions, with cover art by Paulo Teles Yoami and colors by Alexander Starling. This is a quote, by the way. "I'm thrilled for the opportunity to entertain, quote, the BTS Army, unquote, while the boys are putting on their, quote, bulletproof Boy Scouts, unquote, claim to the test in the actual South Korean military," writer Esquivel said in a statement. "Exploring the comics universe with the BTS was a delightful journey, where every stroke, word, and scene become strokes of joy," added artist Fidelius. Of the biographical retelling of how RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin V, and Jungkook rose from obscurity to global pop domination over the past decade. "We crafted a captivating narrative that reflects the brilliance and magic of BTS's extraordinary journey." The Fame series has previously told the stories of artists including Lady Gaga, Taylor Swift, Lil Nas X, Drake, Beyonce, and Selena Gomez, among others. Most importantly, Taylor Swift, because we will touch on that in a little bit. Blah, blah, blah. It's available for pre-order. Amazon, cancel your pre-orders, because this is a pile of trash. Why is it a pile of trash, Kate?
Can I just say the obvious thing first? 22 pages? They're covering a 10-year career in 22 pages. How many pages was the BTS book?
I have it with me right here, right now.
You can tell us. How many pages is it?
How many pages? Let's look at it. Y'all hear the rustling of the papers? Ooh, ASMR. Okay, it is 496 pages. And that's not including the timeline they put in the end of the book and the thanks and all acknowledgments and like that. That's a lot. And there's some things they didn't cover, too, in the book. Yeah. Interesting choice of 22 pages.
Yeah. 10-year career, 22 pages. That's fine. I do want to register my complaint about that really poorly choiced wording in the quote about being bulletproof. Bad timing, not good.
Bad timing. Good. Yeah. With the current climate around South Korean and North Korean relations as well.
Yeah, no, makes me a little nauseous, actually.
Yeah. Entertaining, quote unquote, entertaining the BTS Army. That's weird. And then putting on the bulletproof Boy Scouts claim to test an actual South Korean military. You're just minimizing what they have to be experiencing right now.
Yeah.
I feel like we've both talked about this extensively on Twitter, but the South Korean military, it is not fun, cute, quirky. It is literal violations of human rights.
Yeah.
Force mandatory military conscription is a violation of human rights because you literally cannot say no.
Yeah.
And you have to go fight for some things that you don't believe in.
Yeah.
And you have to support the military industrial complex that, as we see now, and as we've continued to see, oppresses people across the world.
Yeah.
And also we can acknowledge the part that the US plays in all of this as well. As they are quite literally using the entirety of South Korea as a military base for Asia. Yeah. One of the largest military bases outside of America is in South Korea.
Yeah.
And they basically function as their own American city. You can tell that we do not appreciate this type of comment.
No, we do not. And it just gives me a little hesitance for a writer who supposedly researched BTS to make his comic. Makes me a little bit hesitant to think that maybe he didn't do that much actual research. Just a guess. And that's not even getting into the previews of the pages that they shared online, because whew, that's a whole nother layer.
Ooh, do we want to jump into that then?
Let's do that.
Okay, with the actual previews of the comic, it shows BTS members fighting in it. It says here, if there's any silver lining in the clouds, it's that the guys' compulsory service as defenders of the motherland has proved fertile ground for fanfiction.
Oh, I feel nauseous.
Oh,
Oh, God.
disgusting.
It's so gross.
There are people who do see BTS's military enlistment as an entertainment vehicle. That's why we see the development of things like the food accounts, the military picture accounts, and the military update accounts. There are people who do see it as entertainment. But here saying provide fertile ground for fan fiction, I feel like they don't actually understand the fan fiction response to military enlistment. Because if anything, fan fiction, let's say this year, is an expression for many people to help them express and process things they're experiencing and going through. And a lot of the fan fiction written about BTS's military enlistment, if you do look it up, is very sad.
Yeah.
A lot of goodbyes, saying goodbye. You see a lot of people, by the way, my job is to study fandom. So I am here coming to you with this information. But if you look on AO3 and you look up BTS and then military or search any type of keyword like that, you will find fan fiction of people processing their emotions. And then a lot of time, they'll have really sad author's notes of being really upset about the military enlistment or being really upset about the fact that BTS will be gone.
Yeah.
It's so strange how they're trying to be belittling of fan fiction here, but also they don't understand like how people are writing about it. That's great.
Yeah, I think they are just like they're talking out their butts basically here in this. Look at the last frame on this page, because it's like some girl with cat ears sitting on her bed looking at a concert on her laptop with BTS posters behind her, and it's just a swoon. Like
As if
the
armies
implications here.
As if armies aren't like having thesis level conversations on Twitter about enlistment. And also the use of the Jimin photo is disgusting to me. First off, it's a fan site photo. Second off, it's when he was underage, by the way.
Yeah.
Double disgusting. Also, using copyrighted images. Okay, there's tons of armies who already sent emails about the copyright infringement of this comic, and I hope that Big Hit does something about it, because they're using actual Funko Pop models in there. And there's a BTS advertisement photo, and then there's a Festa photo. And also there's the photo of the concert too. First off, we're going through the actual comic itself, because oh my god. When we go through what's happening around the comic, there's so much to unpack here.
This was the panel I wanted to mention. It has all the members labeled, and then there's a plane with a bunch of fans in the front. So there's a bunch of fans and they're talking, and there's something in Korean that is blurry on my screen, so I can't read it. But then there's this yellow box as the translation of it. It says "Marry Me, Jungkook," which is like the wrong joke. Like there's just so much going on here.
There's so much going on. It's the wrong joke. Also, I don't want to clock the artists too hard because I think that's a little unfair, but the members don't look like them. There's people who have drawn manhwas with art inspired by the BTS members that look more like the BTS members than these do. In my
Same
opinion,
everything.
I feel like I don't want to hyper focus too much on criticizing the art of it. I just think that them drawing the members in this particular way kind of reveals that they didn't do a lot of research in the members and in the fandom, and especially like fan art and how we depict the members, because each of the members have very distinctive features that as fan artists we feature in
Right.
everything that we draw. So for people like with Jungkook, people do his tattoo sleeve or do his eyes, and then for Tae, they'll do like his nose and then his like moles on his face, and then for Jin, I don't know why Jin has a mole. He doesn't have a mole there. But Jin has his lips, and then Hobie has his heart-shaped smile, and then his nose as well, and then Jimin has his eye smile, and then his lips, and then Suga has his smile, his gummy teeth smile, and there's very distinct features of each member. RM has the dimples, right? And I feel like not having those features shows as well that they didn't do a lot of research when going into this comic at any point. I think it's good that we do criticize the art and how it was done, but also I don't want to on the artist too much because they're still an artist.
Yeah, no, it's whatever. It's seriously the least concerning thing about all of this at this point. There's so many other problems that I'm not even worried about the art.
Yeah. I guess we could move on from the comic itself
Yeah.
and talk about the publication wave that followed this. For some reason, yesterday, a ton of articles about this comic suddenly popped up. Suddenly. And I truly wonder why. Like, we have the Korean Herald, we have Billboard Magazine, and we have a dozen other ones. On Instagram, I follow a lot of like Korean publications, and all of my feed on Instagram was just about this comic.
It feels very coordinated. It feels like someone in the marketing team somewhere coordinated this. It's just like in the genre of magazine that published about it first. Also very sus. Just feels very weird to me.
Yeah. Overall very sus. I feel like the company probably paid for advertising.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but I feel like that's what happened.
Yeah.
Because I looked through what they did for Swifties, and they did the same thing. They did media rounds, and they had like different publications talking about the Taylor Swift comic they did.
Yeah. And I guess like from a publisher standpoint, that makes sense to do that. It's just we've seen these movements before as a community, and I think that part of this is just a lot of us are tired. And so we're just like, here we go again. Media rounds and stories blowing up.
Just seeing this, we've seen, I talked about this on Twitter, but it's like clockwork all the time. This happens every
Yes.
single time. Someone trying to get our money, they get all these publications, like legit, quote unquote, legit things to talk about it, and then they expect us to care about it. And then when we don't, they get all upset. So I guess we can go into the first statement from Tidal Wave Productions as we talk about this. All right, so we can jump straight into the first statement that Tidal Wave Comics or Tidal Wave Productions published on Twitter. Basically, they're the people who are in charge of the BTS comic that we were talking about previously. Kate, do you want to read it?
Yes, I do. So they had this as their pinned for a good part of last night, just for context. And they've been changing up their pinned statements ever since. But this was the first, by first statement, we mean the statement they made after all the media articles got released and people started asking questions. So they say, thanks for your concern. BTS are public figures and we have the right to create a comic book about their lives without violating copyright/trademark laws in the US, they should say, which is why it's being published in the US. With a 13-year history of such projects, most fan communities warmly support our creative endeavors. It's so adorable.
We're not like other fan communities.
Yeah, first mistake, assuming that we're anything like other fandoms, which I feel like ARMY is persona non grata in a lot of spaces, right? We already are well known for how loud and insistent we can be to the point where we get stereotyped about it. So I get surprised that there are people that are still surprised when Army push back on things, honestly.
Yeah. Also, this is not to be like we're not like other girls or pick me at all. This is more just to acknowledge the fact that Army as a community, as a fandom, we are so interconnected and large at the same
We're huge.
time that very much we are unlike a lot of other communities. And that's fine, but
Yeah.
I feel like trying to lump us in with everyone else, trying to lump up all fan communities together is just not the way to go because fan communities are all unique, right?
Yeah, no, it's just generally not a good move. And I don't say, "Oh, Army is different," to be, like, snobby about it. I'm saying it's because I truly feel as a person who literally studies online communities, that Army feels and moves quite differently from other kind of online groups, especially at this size and especially with how disparate we are across different platforms and different literal physical places. Like, we're literally global, we're gigantic, and yet we still have this inertia, this like ability to move up against something or around something or for something in a way that I have not seen in other places. And so I just feel that this company who supposedly did research on BTS, and then if they're doing research on BTS, then they have to have done research on Army because you literally can't have one without the other. I feel like they did not actually do their research. And I probably will keep saying that over and over again in this episode because I said it already with the content of the comic, and I'm saying it again now, but they really truly don't know what they've done. And the thing is, this is the same thing I've seen over and over again, which we'll talk about later, but it's just like the this statement is just, "Oh, whoops, clearly we didn't know what we were doing, but how come you guys aren't acting like you should be?" And it's a very weird thing that a lot of people do.
Yeah, it's like clockwork once again. It's like people lying about knowing about the fandom and how
Yeah,
we work, and then being like all surprised when we actually do our research and we actually genuinely care about how things are portrayed.
yeah. There is
Interesting.
even a screenshot I think someone shared with me, whoever's running this social media account for this Tidal Wave Productions, they said somewhere that they're Army. They, like, literally said, "I'm one of you." And that's clearly wrong. It's clearly false.
Yeah. We have an whole episode talking about like, what is an army. And
Oh, yeah.
there's different definitions of an army and different ways you can qualify yourself as an army. But there are times where people call themselves army where I'm like, okay, you're an army, but you don't know what like the actual fandom is or what we're actually doing. You just liking BTS is a qualification to be an army, but is not a qualification to participate in army Twitter, for example.
And I am certainly not somebody to police whether somebody wants to claim being Army or not, but I feel in this particular moment, when you're using it as a defense after you've already screwed the community over and after you've already been acting all weird, it's not the moment to be like, "Oh, by the way, I'm an Army." That is not the moment at all. And I literally cannot believe what they're saying at this point, right? Because it literally feels like everything they're saying now is lies in defense of their original project. And I don't trust anything that they're saying at this point.
Same here. Because this statement was actually made in response with people having very valid criticism of their company and of the author and of their practices. And I guess as we delve into that, I want to give like a quick trigger warning to anyone who needs it that we will be briefly mentioning sexual abuse history and things like grooming, and I want you to be aware of that. If you still want to listen to this episode, I would recommend skipping maybe 10 minutes ahead or something because we will be going through some of these accusations against the author of the BTS comic book, and it's very important to know yourself and protect yourself. And you can still participate and listen to this podcast, but if you do want to skip over that, please do. All right. So as we jump into the author's history of sexual abuse, this is by Go Off Tiger. on Twitter. That is their username. So this person says, these are a few of the women that have experienced abuse, manipulation, or inappropriate behavior from X. X refers to Eric. This does not include the many private messages I've received. From what I've been told, there's more than this. Eric, in a lot of ways, in a lot of these statements, there are allegations of him being a rapist, of sexually harassing people, of grooming people who are underage. So people who were 17 when he was in his late 20s or in his early 30s. There's a lot of times where he tried to force himself on people. And these types of allegations and comments should be acknowledged and should be centered. I especially feel like as armies, we feel very strongly about these sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
And this very much is something that we don't want to support. How are you feeling, Kate?
Agreed. I think that this is the sort of thing that is like the antithesis of our community.
Yeah. And I also would like to say as well that even if the comic was good or approved by Big Hit or whatever, we still would be having the same conversation about the author's past.
Yeah.
Because I am really uncomfortable with the way some people are not acknowledging this, especially in conversations around the comic book company, because very much him having this type of history, it makes me deeply uncomfortable and other armies deeply uncomfortable. And it's something that we very much do not want to be supporting.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're not supporting it. In addition to the history of sexual abuse from the author, there's also allegations against the actual production company itself for not paying a lot of the authors and artists who have participated in making comics for them. Now, Tidal Wave Productions, or Tidal Wave Comics, they've changed their company name multiple times. I wonder why. They previously were Blue Wave Productions. Then, very briefly, they changed their name to Stormfront Productions. There's a lot to question here with why they changed their name multiple times and why they keep trying to do, in my opinion, a rebranding of their company. Because in my opinion, I very much do see them trying to release a Taylor Swift comic and then now this BTS comic as a way to rebrand themselves from their previous past. Because there are allegations against them for not paying a lot of artists. And I really do think it's wrong when comic book companies don't pay their artists.
Yes.
I don't think this is something new to the comic book industry, but I do think it's something that we need to stand for and stand against. There's a article specifically from The Beat Comics or Comics Beat. This is a publication that talks about comics. The article title for this is Blue Water: Finding New Ways Not to Pay People by Heidi MacDonald. And this person talks a lot about how Blue Water has responded to claims of non-payment and how they've also ignored a lot of questioning from the creatives they've worked with and that have not been paid. And I think that's something that is really important to acknowledge, especially because we're out here protecting artists, okay? No to AI. We're here for payment. We're here for proper payment of royalties to artists. And it's not a good look that they have all of this baggage. And they're very much, in my personal opinion, I feel like they're trying to hide it with these multiple name changes and also this approach into biographies for people with particularly powerful fandoms. And they're trying to bank on the fact that these fandoms are not intelligent in order for them to profit and to get good media attention around themselves. So that way they can hopefully drown out the media that has talked about the problematic behaviors of the company and of its authors in the past. Yeah,
I
how are we
don't
feeling, Kate?
I don't feel great. I'll be honest. It's not feeling good out here. I find it fascinating because this pattern of behavior has happened a lot where we've had these problematic people slash companies coming into our space and being like, hey, look, we made this cool thing for you. And then we're all sitting here with our critical thinking hats on because that's what we do as Army, literally all the time. And we start asking questions. Look at the stuff we dug up on this company in 12 hours, and it didn't even take that much effort. And here they are hoping we're just gonna like blithely buy into this thing, which some people will, but we're sitting here going, hey, what about all this other stuff? And their best defense is a good offense. I can predict every next move, basically. The pattern is so established. And do they all follow the same handbook? It's like the highly problematic, somewhat abusive person's handbook for dealing with the community. Like, it's just so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah. I also continuing to talk about the problems surrounding this company. There's also in 2013 they wanted to publish a comic about Paula Deen, which if you don't know, she was a I believe cook show chef, celebrity chef.
Yeah,
Paula
she
Deen the
was like a
celebrity chef.
celebrity chef that had her own show. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she had a whole
And
bunch of she had a bunch of merch stuff around it. Like you could buy Paula Deen whatever's in the store kind of thing.
yeah, and she was inevitably not canceled. More like she revealed herself and she said the N-word.
Yeah, and this was like early enough that social media wasn't quite as the thing as it is now. But yeah, in today's age, she'd have been truly canceled.
Yeah, and Blue Water Productions, when they were called Blue Water Productions, a couple years ago, they wanted to publish a Paula Deen comic book as part of their Female Force series, so female empowerment stories around this time, which is interesting to say the least. And h- it's just so strange the way they talk about this. Blue Water Productions plan to, quote, portray Paula in a positive light, focusing on the growth of her empire rather than its tragic racist downfall. And that is a quote from the production company.
Sorry. We know she's racist. We're just not going to talk about it. We're going to
I
uplift
feel
this racist person. We're going to put
I
her on a pedestal and just ignore the fact that she is a blatant racist.
that is such like a white centric thing to do. Oh, this white person did do amazing things, but we're just not going to talk about the bad things they did. It very much puts a damper on your argument trying to argue about how amazing Paula Deen is when she very much is not. She's not the female empowerment story you should be telling.
There are so many other people to choose from. Less problematic people, even.
And they just chose not to do that. Unfortunate, honestly. But I do want to acknowledge that part of this whole piece as we talk about criticizing the company, Tidal Wave Productions, because I do think that's out of pocket with they did this in 2013 and hopefully they've changed a little bit since then, but knowing what we know now, maybe they haven't changed at all.
I'm not super hopeful on that front.
Me neither. All right, let's jump right into the authors, the comic authors. Eric, his
So it was both him and Tidal Wave Productions were coming out on Twitter after all the media storm blew up, and then Army started asking questions. Both Tidal Wave Productions and Eric were on Twitter actively trying to respond to this mess and not doing a great job. Eric here tweeted and said, the intense parasocial relationship that some fans have with their fave musicians is odd. Struggling to think if I felt similarly about a celebrity when I was young and dumb. Maybe Morrissey? But I didn't have Twitter, so I couldn't delude myself into thinking I was important to him. It's sad to see young people so desperate to belong to any club that would have them, forming these little hashtag groups. If this were the 60s, they'd join a cult. Eric, Eric, what are you doing on the internet? Get off the internet,
it's actually
please.
awful.
Just digging that hole.
You want to do we want to break this down?
There's so much to unpack here. I don't know if it's worth our time to unpack all of it, but I will say that when I started studying, especially Army from a researcher's perspective, But I have noticed that the term parasocial relationship gets thrown around a lot. It gets thrown around by people on Twitter. It gets thrown around by academics. And I think most people don't actually know what it means. It's like a lot of other academic words, it gets co opted and then it shifts meaning and stuff. But I feel like it just gets used as this catch all to be like, you're crazy. It's the you're crazy for believing you have a relationship with this person, which was not the original point of the term, right? And every time I see parasocial relationship, especially when it's in reference to army, I automatically get really defensive and start thinking about what is this person actually trying to say here? And obviously, with this one, he's literally trying to say that we're delusional and all this other ableist stuff. And then, of course, digging his hole deeper by stereotyping us in so many different ways. But I really do want to like especially highlight this parasocial relationship thing because it gets thrown at us so often. And I think academically speaking, I feel like the term does not actually apply to us in the same way that it applies to other types of fandoms. And I actually have a lot of academic-y things to say about this, and I may even write a paper about this at some point in the near future because I have a lot of strong feelings and opinions about it. I'm gonna pass it to you and let you take over for a minute while my brain simmers.
All right, while your brain simmers, I guess I will acknowledge the second part of his little thread where he said it's sad to see young people so desperate to belong to any club that would have them forming these little hashtag groups. If this were the 60s, they join a cult. First off,
Whew.
not all of Army is young. This is not to not acknowledge or put down the young people who are in the fandom, who are doing the work, who are doing incredible work, and who are incredible people. Okay? If you're a young person who's in Army, you're doing great. Hi, I'm 19, by the way. I'm also part of you
Way to be a
guys.
teenager.
I'm sorry. Oh my god.
What is the age we're allowed to be? We can't be teenagers and we can't be older than 25. That doesn't leave us very much room to be
It
anything else.
doesn't. It's like you can be like up till 24, but then even 24 is a little dicey.
I know that's pushing it.
A
24.
little
Ooh.
pushing it. Ooh. You gotta get off Twitter. Have kids. Go pay your taxes. Oh my god. Anyway, inherently young people are not all unintelligent individuals. And I think, especially now, seeing the way that young people around me have done so much great work, both in the politics realm and in
Mhm.
advocacy and just changing the world,
Yeah.
seeing the young people around me, it's those arguments that once again are trying to invalidate armies for being young when there's it's inherently nothing wrong with being young and
Yeah.
wanting to say something. And it's just, "Oh, you're just young and not smart." And that's not how it works here. Being young does not mean that you're default not smart. You can be smart at any age.
Yeah.
There's little kids who I've talked to have more intelligence than I will ever have in my body. Talk to a little kid about the sky. See how they think about it. They think about it in a drastically different way than you ever will, and it really is eye-opening.
And I've tweeted this. I tweeted this September 21st, 2021. Okay, so this has been going on in this fandom for eons. But I tweeted and said that calling someone a 15-year-old girl, because that was the specific quote of the day in September of 21. Calling someone a 15-year-old girl is an effective tool of oppression. And so it implies that being young and a girl makes their opinions and values invalid. And it forces the mislabeled, that's the rest of us who aren't 15 and a girl, it forces the mislabeled to reinforce the invalidness of being 15 by making sure that they aren't being invalidated in this. So it forces people in this corner. We aren't young and dumb because we're old and smart, right? We have to like automatically push the opposite narrative. And we're all here to say that we can have both. We can have all of it. We can be a fandom that has all the things, and that by having this diversity is what makes us the community that we are. Yeah, so it's just one of those things that when these outsiders are throwing this kind of vitriolic stuff at us and saying things like young and dumb, they're forcing us into this corner, basically, of having to defend ourselves. And to do that, we inevitably end up doing silly things like throwing 15-year-olds under the bus or trying to argue in a way that makes us end up looking overwhelming or hysterical or whatever. And this is the pattern over and over again, as we've seen, where they put us on the defensive rather than us taking the offensive, which is what we were supposed to be meant to be doing in the first place, right? So we were the one asking rational, normal questions that a consumer might ask before they put their money into something. And instead of getting a rational, normal human response from the company, we immediately got called hysterical and young and stupid and so on and so forth. And we'll keep talking about how tidal wave responds after this. That pushback of making us take the defensive is just, it's just a classic move that people have used over and over again. And there's no way for us to look like the winners, basically.
Yeah. And then they try to gaslight us and
Yeah.
call us hysterical or
Yeah.
act like we're having very unreasonable responses to what they're
Yeah.
saying. When that's not true. This happens so much, especially if you're a woman, you've experienced this.
Mhm.
Like, to the listeners. There's so many times where you try to say something or do something and then you're gaslit into thinking that you're being hysterical about it as a woman. And it's very much constant gaslighting everywhere you go
Yeah.
as a woman.
I'm sure a lot of listeners have maybe had this experience where you're like in a meeting and you say a thing and everybody either ignores you or dismisses you or looks at you like you're a little bit, I don't know, that was maybe too emotional of you to say this thing. And then 5 minutes later, some dude in the room says it and oh, what a great thought. What a great idea. It's that move over and over again, but at our fandom at scale.
Definitely. People know that our fandom is majority female, which I can say, because statistically it's that our fandom is majority female. But we do acknowledge our male armies and also our armies who identify differently. Non-binary armies rise up. They will
Yes.
take over for real. And our gender queer armies, all them out there, shout out to them. But
Yes.
very much, they're trying to minimize the reasonable response we give and bait us to then respond unreasonably so then they can point and say, see, you guys do act
Yeah.
like crazy.
Yeah. And I'm telling you,
So
it's clockwork. This pattern of behavior over and over, everyone does it. Late night talk show hosts, publishing companies, everyone, journalists, everyone has the same exact pattern of behavior.
because they don't know how to respond when a fandom is fairly intelligent
Yeah.
and responding well to something and giving very valid criticisms of something.
Yeah.
When someone does that, they don't know how to respond to it. And so they just default to misogynistic and fairly bigoted responses.
Yep.
Maybe,
Says a whole lot more about them than it does about us, I gotta say.
and maybe with that we can transition into the second statement Tidal Wave Comics put out. I guess I'll read this one. Tidal Wave Productions is grateful for all the love and support for the books we produce. The authors of random threats of violence will be blocked and reported. Clockwork, Kate.
Clockwork, like actual clockwork. The wild thing is, I saw zero threats of violence anywhere near any of this. I saw people who were upset. I saw people that were rightfully calling out some of the problematic historical issues associated with the production company and the author. I saw no threats of violence anywhere. And I actually don't doubt that they got some in their DMs, although probably not as many as this particular tweet is making it sound like. But I will acknowledge they probably did get some because I get them daily in my inbox. Being on the internet is just, it's just par for the course. You're going to get those few people who are problematic. But that is not who they've been blocking.
They've been blocking the people who give actual valid criticism of the author, the company, and their practices. That's
Yeah.
the problem. And
Yeah.
are they trying to insinuate that those are the random threats of violence? The very valid criticism people have? Which is so strange.
Yeah, it's a choice. It's a choice.
It certainly is. Because I very much feel like they're trying to focus on the fact that there's random threats of violence, which again, we don't doubt that they probably did get, because there are people who take it to the extreme, and very much we don't stand with that type of behavior. But in hyper focusing on that, then they don't acknowledge the dozens of valid criticisms they've been getting from different individuals.
They're basically taking the probably super small minority and just saying, oh, the whole barrel is bad, right? It's like clockwork every time. It's definitely making themselves the victim when, again, like I was just saying, it's making us go on the defensive of being like, oh no, but we're not the violent ones here. Like making us have to defend ourselves and prove ourselves when we were never the problem to begin with.
They truly believe that they can just hyper focus on these type of responses that are happening in order to fully not acknowledge what we're also saying.
Yeah.
One of the people, like, I'll read this word for word, like, why not tell the truth if you are blocking people who ask you very valid questions about whether your books are official? Anyone who dares to call out the fact that Big Cat has the rights to BTS's names and image gets blocked because you don't want to give that answer. Oh my god, we didn't even talk about this part of it too, like the copyright part of it. I feel like there needs to be someone who's a lawyer to talk about this a little.
I would love a lawyer to talk about this because, like, I know that in the United States, public figures are not protected from copyright. I could go and write a biography about some public figure with publicly available information right now if I wanted to, and that is protected under the First Amendment, I believe. But I feel like there is a line being crossed here, and I don't know. I've seen some different tweets and I've seen some people say, I'm a lawyer and here's my take. I'd love for someone to really break down the law because, especially with BTS, Hybe have so much of their stuff copyrighted, like all the content and the symbols and the imagery and stuff, like all of that is copyrighted. And in Korea, I know that all of that is really secure and protected. They can sue the heck out of anyone they want who tries to use this stuff. But I don't know how much of that then gets transferred and covered within the US. And so I'd really love somebody to actually write a blog or something to explain this. Because I suspect that they could write the biography, but I'm wondering about all the images and stuff they're using within it. If you go look at the pages, like we were saying earlier, it's not drawn. They're actual images pasted into the backgrounds and stuff, right? Like we said, one was from a fan site and one was from one of their festas. And so it's weird because I feel like that stuff is probably copyrighted in some way. They can't just reproduce all those images for sale.
We would have to wait for a lawyer or someone to talk
Yeah.
more thoroughly about it. But very much, I feel like for the biography aspect of it, a lot of armies are trying to email the company about that, but I don't think they can do anything about that aspect of it.
No, I
But
don't
I
think so
do
either.
think they can do something about the copyrighted images being used in the comic
Yeah.
and trying to, in, I don't know, the way they're marketing it too. I don't think it says the official
Right.
BTS
No,
comic or
they
anything,
I'm pretty
but
sure they have avoided using that word very specifically. I also think that, and this is something I tweeted yesterday, but it's worth reiterating here, that just because something is legal, just because they can do the thing, doesn't mean they should be doing the thing. It doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. And I don't know, I feel like somebody who is literally just making it their life's work to put out this subpar drivel about famous people like that, it's like right in the line with all the kind of like the lowest trash media that we have out there, right? It's just like bottom feeder type energy, just out there to make a quick buck and continue. And then they're doing this thing about BTS and they've done it about all these other famous people and they're going to do about somebody else tomorrow, right? It's just a way for them to make money. And it's just it gives me very skeevy. This is the result of us living in a capitalist society.
yeah, there's no genuine heart in what they're
Right.
doing. It's just for profit. And
Yeah,
like you can like them doing Taylor Swift and then moving on to us too right after,
right.
very much that feels like they're just trying to get money.
Yeah. And considering how little thought and research is going into each of these projects, it is well and truly like the lowest of low, just grabbing what surface level stuff a quick Google will give you, throwing that into a 22-page book, and then selling it. And oh, look, we're #1 on Amazon or whatever. And it's just really gross. Anyway, and then coming at us and saying, oh, you're the ones threatening us with violence, or you're the ones being noisy about this, or whatever. Or that was their first tweet where they were basically like, it is well within our right to do this because we're not violating any laws. And it's just, I shall slow clap for you. You are not violating any laws that you know of. And I'm not sure why you think that is the bar you need to be crossing.
That shouldn't be.
The
There should be
bar.
a higher standard here. Talk to Big Hit about it. Get their approval. Do something about it. Because armies themselves, we don't like unofficial content. There's like a whole thing about not liking unofficial content and then people trying to make profit off of us with unofficial content. It's a whole conversation we have too
Yeah,
about,
we don't like being used.
yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it.
People just see us as open purses.
Yeah. There's also this other kind of exchange that Tidal Wave Comics did, if you want to talk about it. This is the one where they talk about all the tweets they've been receiving, like the 1,000 something
Oh
tweets.
yeah. Okay. So I'm not going to read the person they were replying to, but I'm just going to read a couple of their responses. It was this thread I found, and these had not been deleted as of this morning, which I was impressed by. I thought for sure they'd go around deleting all their tweets, but this is basically in response to being like, how come you're not answering our questions? You just keep blocking people and you're not actually answering our questions. And so one of their tweets says, I've submitted a reply. It's currently morning here. We take pride in our product, having been in this business for 13 years. Unfortunately, I can't respond to each individual, so I've shared an update on our Twitter account. Thank you. And that update was the one like, we're not infringing on any copyright, and normally the communities really love us. That was the official response that they are referring to here. And then they go on in the same thread to also say, and this is in response to, why are you blocking so many people? And why are you just giving us these copy paste responses? Okay, so they're saying, have you ever experienced receiving 1,000 tweets? It becomes overwhelming when they contain dreadful accusations, some even threatening me. I refuse to engage with such negativity. And I have thoughts about that, but
That's so interesting they say that because right now I'm receiving 1,000 tweets.
I know, like, one of us in this room is blowing up currently. And I have definitely, the thing is, I don't know anyone who's had any kind of spotlight in Army Twitter ever. Anyone who's made any kind of noise has inevitably been canceled and gotten death threats in their inbox and had people insulting you on the timeline. And this is just part of being on the internet. And if you didn't know going into this large community space that this was going to happen, then you really should have done your research a little bit more. And I just think it's really funny them being like, have you ever experienced receiving 1,000 tweets? I'm like, yes, I have, and it is unpleasant. I agree. But maybe think carefully about how you're responding to people.
Yeah, this circles back to the whole point we made at the beginning that if they just did their research, they would have been aware
Yeah.
of all the things that they're experiencing now. And it very much goes to show that they didn't do the research. And now they're struggling with responding and like engaging with the fandom because they just failed to understand how we work in the first place.
Yeah. And I'll say that they're doing this thing again where they are talking about how overwhelmed they are because of the threats and the dreadful accusations and the negativity. And it's, yes, I'm sure that has come as part of it, but also there's a lot of valid questions happening, and it'd be great to actually address those. I feel like if they truly are surprised by all of this, then I can't help them. That they really should have done their research.
Yeah. Again, once again, the hyper focus on the threats and like that, and then refusing to acknowledge the fact that people are giving very valid criticism. It's just, I'm just gonna pick out this one person that's doing this, so that way I can say, oh, woe is me, and then just not acknowledge the rest that's happening. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. You can do that while we have to condemn every single person that's doing something wrong in order for us to even have a valid opinion.
Yeah.
Which is annoying me to no end. Yeah, I know this person is doing something wrong, but you shouldn't be hyper focusing on that. So
Yeah.
in order to not acknowledge the opinions that we are having that are very valid. It's annoying. It's annoying. And then these people have the audacity to give a third statement.
Yes, the one that came in while we were recording this podcast.
But do you want to read this one, Kate?
All right, so this came in while we were recording this podcast. Like clockwork. Like I'm telling you, clockwork. Okay, so we've had oh, you guys aren't like normal fans. Weird. You should be. And then we've had oh my gosh, you guys are threatening me. I have to block all of you. Why would you be so hysterical and violent? What is wrong with you? And now we've come to the third phase. And here we go. Facing a surge of fake accounts, we've realized not every fan is genuine, temporarily limiting comments for our true supporters' safety. Ironically, the bots, in caps and quotes, calling the book a flop and sending hate backfired. It's gaining momentum and people are grabbing it. Hashtag true fans prevail. And there is an image of the comic, #1 bestseller on Amazon in teen and young adult biography comics, which is extremely specific category, I'm gonna say. And then it's got the caption, the player's gonna play, 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 and the hater's gonna hate, 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 which is a lot of plays and a lot of hate. But anyway, so like clockwork, now we're fake accounts and bots. Clockwork, I'm telling you.
I also want to say that the player's gonna play and the hater's gonna hate. That's a Taylor Swift lyric.
That's the
So
one Taylor Swift song I know. There's too many plays and too many hates. Their caption is wrong.
oh, it is. That's a little embarrassing. Oh my
It's super embarrassing.
goodness.
I'm like, that's too many. So I actually got that reference. But yeah, no, so there's levels of things going on here, but I just gotta say, it's just like clockwork. This pattern. It's just here we are. Now we're bots and not real. We went from being young and dumb to not real.
It's just the continuous. They keep going. It's just like, how do we invalidate them so we don't have to respond to their valid criticisms? Okay, first, you're young and dumb and you're all little girls and no one likes you. Number two, oh,
Yeah.
you're all threatening us. We don't respond to people who give us threats and are negative and haters. Number three, okay, now you're all bots. At this point, they might as well tweet out something like, oh, we're going to contact Big Hit about this problem. And they don't even know what Big Hit is. Or we're going to contact BTS that their fans suck. They might as well do that at that point.
They won't do that because then they'd have to draw attention to the fact that they're stealing
Doing some
BTS IP.
Yeah. But yeah, they know they're doing something wrong and they're trying to backpedal and then blame us and invalidate us in order for them to look better. And it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think my biggest takeaway from all of this is two big takeaways. One, don't buy this comic book. Okay. Don't buy anything by this company ever. Do not give them any money whatsoever. And two, this is just a larger pattern. This is just something that we've seen over and over and over again. And I continue to be surprised when people still fall into this and still don't know how to react and still do it this way. And it's one of those things where I've gotten to the point where I a lot of the times ignore a lot of this noise, but this time for some reason it really got under my skin. It's just partly because it's just so obvious and so patterned. Like I could see the next thing coming a mile away. And like I just was sitting here going, all right, here we go. And partly because I feel like we have a lot of newer army and it's been quiet, relatively speaking, in the last year or so compared to previous when BTS as a team were still more active. I feel like things have been relatively peaceful outside the fandom. And so this just probably for a lot of baby army, this is the first time they're experiencing this kind of patterned abusive behavior from an outside person slash company.
And I feel bad for those armies.
Yeah. Welcome to the fandom. You have arrived. You've now experienced your first abusive relationship with a company not actually related to BTS.
This happens all the time. This happened previously. People keep drawing a comparison with these two events. With Billboard magazine,
Yes.
back in 2021, when they made a limited edition collector's magazine with
Yeah.
BTS, and they had pretty pictures of them, and they tried to get us with the pretty pictures, but the interview in
The
the actual
interview
magazine.
was trash.
Let's rehash some BTS history.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. And we're back. Sorry, you guys didn't experience the delay. We experienced the delay.
We did.
We had to take a break in the middle of there because I had to go grocery shopping.
Way to be an adult there.
I'm sorry, I'm adulting. But yeah, we're back. It's been hours since the last thing we've talked about. We're gonna quickly talk about Billboard magazine, but we now have Facebook era from Pedal Wave Comics. I guess they were tired of talking on Twitter, so now we have stuff that they said on Facebook. This is great. We're having a great time, Kate.
It just keeps going.
Live, laugh, love. Anyway, let's jump right into Billboard magazine. So this Billboard magazine issue that happened that kind of parallels this current issue with Tidal Wave Comics. It happened in 2021 with the limited edition collector's box set that featured BTS and a lot of pretty photos. Okay, not gonna lie, they all look great.
Very
Okay?
pretty. Very pretty.
Love
Yeah.
them. Love them. They ate that. Ooh. Okay, Namjoon in the purple suit. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. And also Jimin in the pink one. I do
Yeah.
love when they curl his hair and it's the swoosh, little swoosh.
Mhm.
Perfect. But don't let the pretty photos fool you, okay? This was a trap that Billboard set up intentionally because the way this interview for the magazine goes is actually ridiculous. Listen to this, you guys. This is a quote from the actual interview. On top of these pressures, both the group and the agency are coming under scrutiny for BTS's recent chart successes, which fans of some competing acts say are achieved through concerted manipulation antithetical to the chart's purpose of accurately highlighting the world's most popular acts. After Butter and the Ed Sheeran co-write Permission to Dance debuted atop the Hot 100, where Butter ruled for 9 consecutive weeks, some noted how the group's fans, known as ARMY, organize themselves on social media, using tactics like bulk purchases of physical albums and coordinated digital buying to influence chart performance. Okay, let's break down some things here. Let's break down some things here. We're not going to go through this entire article because we know
No.
what happened last time we went through an entire thing.
That's
That was literally like 48 hours of me just editing hell.
Yeah.
But we're not doing that to me again because I believe in being kind to my future self.
true.
And when it comes to this specific paragraph, it's so sleazy how they word it. Because like bulk purchases of physical albums, coordinate digital buying to influence chart performances. There's some more quotes we're going to go through. But just know now that bulk purchases is not accurate.
It's also not actually possible the way they have their rules set up for us to do that.
In America, you can only do 4 albums per order.
No.
You cannot bulk buy. That is the whole thing. And also coordinated digital buying to influence chart performance. It's not coordinated digital buying. It is people giving money to people to buy. And these people would have bought anyway. But a lot of people don't buy because they don't have the money to, which is a whole classism conversation. We're putting over there right now. Because if we got into that, this would actually be a 5-hour long podcast. Anyway, Kate, all you for the next quotes.
Yeah, the article keeps going in that kind of same vein where they talk about army crowdfunding and then they pull some folks' tweets about pooling money. And again, this is the same thing where the way they're phrasing things makes it sound super sketch, but in reality, it's just us making sure people who actually want to purchase the music have money to do. So I'll just skip all that. You can envision that. So then they go on, and this is like multiple paragraphs of this now in this article, talking about chart manipulation and stuff. This article was very in the times because this was coming up a lot over and over, because this is in 2021. So it's just very of the times. Anyway, but they have here at the kind of the towards the end of all these paragraphs, they have a quote here, and it says, "It's a fair question," says RM, "of allegations that Army's work amounts to chart manipulation. But if there is a conversation inside Billboard about what being number one should represent, then it's up to them to change the rules and make streaming way more on the ranking. Slamming us or our fans for getting number one with physical sales and downloads, I don't know if that's right. It just feels like we're easy targets because we're a boy band, a K-pop act, and we have this high fan loyalty."
He said it.
And then they did change the rules. They've changed them multiple times. Each time that BTS has topped different charts, they've gone and changed the old rules again.
Yeah.
Again.
I've talked about this in funding circles, but every single time a BTS member released a new album last year, the rules changed again. Every single time.
Yep.
Okay? Every single one. Like, people remember most prominently, like, during Jungkook's time, like, where they
Yep.
took away the digital store, and then they started promoting CDs more. Everyone remembers that very prominently, but for all the other releases as well, there's something changed. There was a
Yep.
tweak. There's like some things didn't count anymore, then now things count. Like, for a while, we weren't buying iTunes music videos because they weren't counting. And then all of a sudden they counted again. Things kept changing and things stopped counting and things did count. And it was like a whole thing. But very much, it's like, first off, everything about charting is purposely confusing because the music industry manipulates things within their own means, so that way the people that they want to be successful are successful, right? That's why we have things like payola, right, to radios, and that's why we have things like playlisting on Spotify and Apple Music and different music streaming platforms. These things are all technically within the rules and legal to do, because nothing in the music industry is illegal because there's no governing body who really does anything. There's just like filtering. There's no actual laws, unless those laws also hurt other laws. It's complicated. We're not getting into that. But like, the problem with the music industry is that they are so closed off and they are so mad whenever anyone tries to go against what they want, that something like Army and BTS coming out of the gate is so infuriating to them. Because it's like they have their pop princesses, their like top hits. Like, they have songs and heavy hitters and people getting singles and releasing albums and people that they want to get hot 100s for, who just don't get those because we're blocking them. Because we deeply care about BTS and their success. And it makes people so upset because they no longer have the control of the numbers in the industry. So they make convoluted rules so that way they can have more control. If we did have the popularity songs based solely on the streams, unique IPs streaming the songs, and you didn't have playlisting, you didn't have payola, and you didn't have hundreds of millions of dollars spent into marketing that all these people do, you just had fan loyalty, BTS would always come on top.
Yes.
And a lot of them don't like that because they use all these unfair practices in order to come on top. And because BTS are unwilling to pay into those practices and give the music industry what they deem is their cut of BTS's success, they're upset about it. And that's why we have all of this type of conversation around ARMY and a dehumanization of ARMY and BTS. Because they hate the fact that they can no longer control the industry. And then there's things like TikTok too, like TikTok popular songs. They hate TikTok popular songs. They hate those songs from small musicians. They're just suddenly blowing up because it rocks the industry. They can no longer control it and they're mad about it. And honestly, stay mad. Stay mad. Okay?
Yeah.
I've literally funded people from my own money to buy albums and to buy music because I deeply care about the ethos of this fandom and giving to other people in this fandom. And it's honestly baffling how they keep wanting to punish us for that. It's you can no longer be nice in this instance. You can no longer give in this instance because technically it's not right. And I think that's wrong. I think if I want to give money to someone to buy music because they want to buy it, I am within my right to do that. Little ramble there. How are we feeling, Kate?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the big takeaway from all of this for me is that the institutions or bodies of some sort of whatever we want to call these things, like Billboard, they continually find that Army is a community that is so well connected and so well networked that they don't have power over us. And that really irks them because they want power. That's like the whole point of being like this music governing body, is to be the one that's in power. And so what has been their tried and true tactic for years now has been this idea of dehumanizing us and reducing us to children, reducing us to mentally ill people, reducing us to non people, such as bots and so on. And the thing is, it's continuing to work because what's happening is this rhetoric just keeps getting shared around. So we see Billboard perpetuating this in articles that people are actually out there reading, and then we see the same rhetoric being shared by rando tidal wave productions on Twitter and Facebook and whatever. And so this kind of language just keeps getting perpetuated and we continue to be dehumanized. And the problem is, if we don't keep up this work of pushing back against that, if we just accept this as the rhetoric that people are saying, then we lose any kind of legitimacy we might have. And we also lose the ability to move forward as a community and to be able to do the work we do and stuff. And I think it's really important when we see this kind of behavior, especially when it's getting picked up the way it's getting picked up by news platforms and different things. It's important to make sure that we are loud and heard and that people understand that we aren't just bots and we are actual human people with wallets, if that's what's speaking to them.
Yeah. And with like our focus on the Billboard magazine issue really quick, we also want to point out that this comic book company issue is part of the larger issue where outside forces want to dehumanize armies
Yeah.
and are angry at the fact that we're a diverse, giving, large, and international community and we're all interconnected. When you're an army, there's so much that identity transcends that infuriates a lot of people. The
Yeah.
fact that I could not speak someone else's language, but if we were both holding a BT21 keychain, that
Mhm.
type of connection I have with that person is a deeper level than anything else
Yeah.
that we have, right? We may have nothing else in common, but that one part of our identity could be so strong that I would go to hell and back for that person, even if I didn't know them.
Yeah.
I can't articulate this well. So Kate, we're gonna have to work on this we're workshopping this. It's like how there's so many people who fear globalization
Yeah.
or fear people connecting with each other beyond borders and beyond languages and beyond different communities. It's that fear of us all coming together and understanding each other. Because even now, we're seeing in the world when people come together and truly understand each other, there's a lot of people in power who don't like that.
Yeah.
And us choosing to defy that is so radical in a lot of ways that people just don't like it. People get upset about it. And a lot of people aren't able to articulate why.
I think that was one of the things that I was like, when I first started out in army and I was getting to the point where, oh man, oh, there's something really cool going on here. Maybe I should actually be studying this instead of just hanging out here. And one of the things that I find most exciting about this community is that deep connection we have with one another and that deep sense of care and responsibility that we have. And the way that we use our network, use our connection, use our community, and be truly subversive in a way that is good for the world. We want to do good. And I think that really terrifies people, especially people in positions of power, because all of a sudden, all these gender queer, people of color, female identifying, we're all just like here ready to like make noise. And I think that really scares people.
It definitely does because I think about this constantly. Army has inspired me and has solidified the fact in my brain that people can make change no matter who they are, where they're from, or what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right? But I see people who are just like, oh, I'm just a single mom. And then they're doing like crazy things online where they're organizing
Right.
things and they're doing things. I'm just like, you're not just a single mom. Hold up. First off, being a single mother itself is a feat. So big
Yeah.
applause to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Big slay to
Shout
that.
out to single moms everywhere.
But also don't ever diminish who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you? You
Yeah.
are an amazing person doing amazing things.
For real.
And being an army has shown me the world, has shown me people, different
Yeah.
people. And it has shown me that we are so powerful
Yeah.
as individuals and as a group of people. And it really it it's really solidified to me that we are capable of doing anything. We are capable of making change in any type of way. And anyone doubting that, ever doubting that is so wrong.
Yeah.
And that's why unfortunately I will never stop being crazy and advocating for everything and
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. My Google Calendar terrifies
For
everyone.
me,
Any
it doesn't terrify me because mine looks the same.
Yeah, we're out here. But yeah, any final thoughts on that before we move on to the Tidal Wave Comics Facebook era?
No, I think we can keep on going here. We've got plenty of ground to cover yet.
All right, guys, let's get into this Facebook era. I thought I would go grocery shopping and then come back, and then we would be like, "Heh, not much happened since then." But oh boy, so much has happened since then. And it's getting a little dicey out there. So, Tidal Wave Comics on their account, I'm going to contextualize like a couple of these posts so we can all just look at it together and marvel at the fact that this is clockwork. It is indeed clockwork. So we see in this one screenshot, this one person says, I don't get it. What's their beef? And then Tidal Wave Comics replies, this is all on Facebook, by the way. It's that it's official and we're stealing money from the band. What I've learned is it is one of the management companies hired a bunch of people to do this. On Twitter, if you see the 7 behind their name, it's part of the company. It's a bully tactic. And the person replies, Tidal Wave Comics, I'm so sorry. And I didn't know we were paid by Big Hit, Kate.
I cannot wait for my paycheck. Personally, I'm ready. I'm waiting for it because I've been out here doing the good work. Any day, big hit. I'm here.
Also feels like a little bit of a conflict of interest that you're researching them while also getting paid
Ooh,
by them.
that's true. That's true. I have to
Yeah.
rethink this.
Someone's gonna call it out in 5 years and then do nothing about it. As they always do. We could say it anyway. Yeah, that's so interesting. And also once again, dehumanization. Once again.
Yeah. And now I'm like, wait, can we have a decision made here? Are we bots or are we paid individuals? Because I'm feeling like it's a little bit,
Choose one.
yeah,
Pick
just
one.
pick something here. Are we young and dumb? Are we bots? Are we being paid by Big Hit? Pick a side.
Because we cannot all be one thing. Choose. Choose. Great. Fantastic. Do you want to read this next thing they said?
Hold on. Tidal Wave Comics says it's actually pretty horrible. I woke up to over 200 things on Twitter. I'm trying my best not to read them, but I have to report them. They're trying to hack into my Instagram. I learned that it is the management company for one of them. So if you see a 7 behind their name, that's what they're doing, is trying to bully me. I couldn't even keep a straight face while I was reading it.
Where are they getting this idea Okay, here they said, like, I learned that it is the management company for one of them. Who is one of them?
I
They're all
really
under the
wanna
same
know.
management company.
One of them. I'm sorry, I can't even keep a straight face that they had 200 things. They had 200 things on Twitter.
I have more than 2,000 people mad at me right now.
I know, I'm just like, I'm sitting here, that's actually not a very big number, so I'm like, maybe they're actually doing pretty well?
Personally, Kate. So for some people, that's huge. But on Army
Okay, but
Twitter,
they literally their comic book literally got announced yesterday on a bunch of news media places. I only got 200 notifications just from that.
I feel like this person was very overwhelmed by the response, and they are not media trained
At all,
or at all,
clearly.
clearly. And they don't know how to run a very professional account. I literally run accounts, and there's like a whole rule book you have to follow. And there's ways you respond to things, and this is not the way you respond to things. Interesting. I feel like this person does not have a good. They're not getting paid enough to deal with this, first off. Second off, I guess someone's trying to hack into my Instagram. I guess your personal Instagram. Don't know how people found out who you are on a personal level. Sorry about that. But that's what happens sometimes. And also on your Instagram, get two-factor authentication.
Yeah, it's
It is
time for that.
time. It's time,
Yeah.
everyone. Everyone, it's time. But yeah, and then also again, the dehumanization. So if you see a 7 behind their name, that's what they're doing, is trying to bullet me. See a 7 behind their name. We're all bullies now. Whoop-pow.
Well,
Claiming my title.
I'm on their Facebook page.
You're on their Facebook page?
I'm on their
Don't,
Facebook page
Kate.
right now.
Oh my God. We're going through it.
So the only update is an hour ago, they said we're serious about bullying. We are not only contacting social media, we are contacting the authorities. Hashtag anti-bullying. Sorry, I just cannot.
So weird. Also, there's this instance on Facebook. We need to talk about this because this is actually wildly inappropriate. There's someone named Janice Booper, who is an actual person, by the way. They have a profile picture that's of a meme of this guy Dan's face, and they post this picture of this guy named Dan every day to his Facebook group. And this person has that picture of Dan's face as a profile picture. And Tidal Wave Comics claimed that they were a bot because they posted a recipe in Chinese. And they're not. Janice Booper literally released a statement on their Facebook that says, Tidal Wave Comics claims that I am a bot harassing him because I posted a recipe in Chinese and I am using Dan's photo. I have also never exchanged communication, yet he wants to block me, then claim I am harassing him, and post my information on Facebook and X. I am not a bot. I am unfortunately human. I am also not changing my photo because it's January. Y'all just stuck with me until next month. First off, icon. Stick with your profile photo, okay? Do what you want. It's your life. Also, wildly inappropriate to call someone a bot when they post a recipe in Chinese.
It does smell a little bit like racism.
The Tidal Wave Comics on Twitter, they literally have this tweet where it says, the first sister we checked out turned out to be a bot in all caps, by the way, that was harassing us over the BTS comic book. We check and report. Smiley face. And it's like the Janice Booper with her January picture icon, legend. Janice, live your best life. And then to the right of that, the screenshot of the profile is a screenshot of the Chinese recipe tweet. There's this one army below that replied, literally says, speaking in Chinese bot behavior is disgusting. You can't just go around spreading lies about people. They certainly look like a person to me. And it's Janice posting memes, having a good time on her Facebook account.
Janice living the best life over there.
Why are you being mean to Janice? She did nothing wrong. Okay, justice for Janice. Okay, we're starting this movement now. I can't believe
they've put this poor person's. They've got the screenshot of Janice all over their Facebook page. It's like in all their comments, they keep leaving Janice everywhere. What the hell? It's under everything. They keep replying to other people and posting Janice's profile. I don't know what's going
also,
on. They're losing their minds over here.
yeah, it's so microaggressive. And it's so awful. Just because you think someone posts in Chinese, they're a bot. How do you look at someone posting a recipe in Chinese and then immediately try to connect that into them being a bot? Just wildly.
I,
Eh.
I don't know what's going on with them, but they're
They're gonna
clearly
keep
spiraling.
going too. They're spiraling and they're gonna keep going. You can't call us all bots, okay? This narrative about armies being all bots needs to stop. For
Okay, so
one
if they're
thing,
gonna have us all arrested, then I guess they don't think we're all bots. If some of us are getting arrested, can't arrest
again,
us.
it's pick a narrative. Pick a narrative. Pick one. Pick one. You can't do what everyone else does when it's clockwork and go through every narrative until you eventually feel better about yourself. Okay, pick one. Okay,
Yeah,
calling us bots. Again, calling us bots, number one thing. It is super duper techno orientalist. Super duper.
it's
I
so
say that as
bad.
an Asian person, just a human being that exists on the earth who sees it. Okay? Calling the fans of an Asian South Korean music group. They're all South Korean, from South Korea, born and raised in South Korea. Calling all of them bots. There's layers. Layers. Just don't say that. Get rid of the narrative, okay?
Yeah.
Because every time we do this, we have to pull out another academic paper about techno Orientalism. And another one about how this is again techno Orientalist. And also xenophobic. And don't say that. It's like how you just don't want to say certain things. Because even if you meant it one way, people aren't going to take it that way. So you might as well not say it at all.
That's right.
Yeah. Also, do we want to talk about this Amazon book charting stuff?
They keep posting. Okay. I was laughing about this earlier because they keep posting different screenshots of their comic being the number one, the number two, the number three in sales. This is on Amazon and it's under Amazon Hot New Releases is the big banner. And it's got the paperback, the hardcover, and the Kindle edition are 1, 2, and 3. But they're under new releases in teen and young adult musician biographies. I don't know what new, like, quote, quote, what new release means. Does that mean this week, this month? I don't know what qualifies as a new release. And the fact that it's in the teen and young adult musician biographies category, I am led to suspect that it would be incredibly easy to get number one, number two, and number three in this category as a new release. Because how many other books are being released this week in this category? Just a question. I don't know. I would probably have to go to Amazon and figure that out. But I'm guessing it's actually not that hard to hit this number, is my guess.
Yeah, I don't think it is. Because I'm looking at it right now. And it's literally just biographies of, it's like the essential fan guide for different musicians. I talked about this earlier, but it's literally like how people have number one New York best time seller on their book, but every book is essentially a New York number one bestseller because there's
Right.
so many different charts. And I did that because Harry Potter kept charting number one, and then other authors got mad and other publishers got mad because they're like, we want to chart number one. It's been years. Get Harry Potter off of there. New York Times was like, okay, best decision to make ever. Make multiple charts. That way everyone can chart number one and everyone can have that little sticker on their book and be happy. It's like people who want things to matter so bad about something, but it literally doesn't matter. No one cares. No one cares. And it's
Yeah, it
ridiculous.
like literally doesn't mean anything. There could be 10 people that have it in their pre-orders right now, and that could be the reason it's charting number one. We have no way of knowing what that number actually means. Let them show their number one screenshots all they want, but it's meaningless until they actually show us what order numbers are or literally anything else that has an actual quantity or some kind of something attached to it. This is the classic example of manipulating people with statistics. You can be number one all you want, but that number is absolutely meaningless. Like it means nothing to the rest of us.
Yeah. Living our best life there. I guess we do have notes about this, so we're gonna talk about it. My controversial tweet, very polarizing to the TL.
Okay.
I'll read it word for the podcast. Also, I do acknowledge poorly worded tweet. Not the best. Could have been worded better. That's it.
I can say that about half my tweets, to be honest.
All right, the tweet says, "All right, Army, since people are once again undermining the fandom and acting like we're little girls, what's everyone's credentials and achievements? Professors, lawyers, doctors, engineers, all my decorated folk out there, sound off." Now, I could have put in a little, and it's fine if you're not. I
How
think
dare
that
you?
would have made everyone really happy if I predicted the future and knew exactly what to say every single time.
Whew.
Really think it would have. Really think it would have. But there's a lot to talk about with this one tweet because it was so polarizing to the TL, which I find really interesting because whenever something like what's happening with the comic book right now happens, some army puts out a tweet like this. And it's called a flex tweet. When you tweet something like this, you want people to quote retweet it and to reply to it to flex.
Yeah.
It's meant to be a rallying point of the fandom, and it's meant to support each other while we're going through this gaslighting from this
Yeah.
other entity that's
Yeah.
not even part of our space. And it's
Right.
meant to be like a support pillar so we
Yeah.
could feel stronger together. But a lot of people interpreted it very negatively, which I'm not going to apologize for because you misinterpreting my tweet is not my problem. And that is for you to go for. But I've literally already muted it, and I mute a lot of my own tweets. If you're upset with me about it, I do not see it.
I love the mute function on Twitter so much.
Yeah. I know it's very interesting because people got like super duper upset with me, but I'm not even seeing it.
Well,
It's my mutuals who are showing it to me than me actually seeing it
yeah. Yeah.
because I know how to take care of my mental health because I have been in fandom longer than you think. And once again, would like to note, I am 19. For the past 10 plus years, let's say that, have been in fandom, have been undermined. There's a reason I don't put my age in my bio on Twitter. Because people immediately see that and then clock, they're like, okay, I'm no longer going to pay attention to this person's opinion. And I know
Right.
what that feels like.
Whew. The ageism out there.
Goes both ways. Sadly,
I'm
I
too
will.
old and you're too young. So what putting us together is like magic, right? It makes everything.
Yeah. And then
Wow.
eventually I'll get too old too.
Uh-oh.
And then we will all be hags.
Okay. Well, I
And
guess
no one
that's
will
fine.
like
I'm okay
us.
with that.
Yeah. Her hag army era.
Yeah.
For real. But yeah, I just want to touch on a couple of things with that tweet because I know a lot of people are going to come to this podcast thinking about that tweet, wanting me to say something about it. So we're going to say a couple things because I never tweet something without intention. Let's say that. And if it doesn't have intention, that's because I'm looking at a picture of a BTS member that looks a little nice. Anyway, but we're going to break down a couple things here. These are some notes, some things to point on with that tweet. There was an army that said something that went like this, and they quote retweeted this. I can no longer find this quote retweet, so I believe they either deleted it or they blocked me or something like that. But they did say, "What's the use of all these people with credentials if they don't speak out about different issues?" And it's like, I've gathered them all here for you now. This tweet has
Mhm.
gathered all these people with credentials for you now, and I want you to go reach out and speak to them. Okay?
Yes.
I'm already speaking to a lot of them. I know a lot of them personally, and we've been having our own conversations. Hi, Kate, who is here right
Hello.
now. Hello.
Look. Hello.
Yes. So I think it's interesting for people to see me gathering so much of the community and then not seeing that as a subtle sign for me. Here's all these people. Now go DM them. This person talking about how they're a lawyer, go DM them. This person talking about how they run a business and you want to run a business, it's your time.
Yeah.
It's your time, right?
Yeah.
Because I really do love these types of tweets. I really do love them because I feel like it reveals so much about the fandom that we don't see. day
Yeah.
to day.
Because most people are there on the timeline. They're not sitting there because I'm a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. No, they're on there screaming out BTS pictures like the rest of us. But we're all still here with our own expertise, if you will. And because there was somebody under this tweet or somewhere, but they were like, oh, I want to be a professor someday after they figured out that I was a professor. And I'm just like, go for it. Let me know how that goes. I'm here if you want to talk. My DMs are actually open. They
Yeah,
are.
it's so funny because I love this type of tweet because it brings so many people together and there's so many people interacting and talking to each other. We don't know,
Yeah.
maybe we started a friendship today
Yeah,
and
that's
we didn't
nice.
even know about that. That's actually pretty nice to think about. But there's also someone I saw this because my mood sent this to me. She was like, "This person's calling your tweet corny," and I was like, "Okay, let it be corny.
I
We're
want to
silly little
celebrate.
girls."
I want to celebrate our successes.
Okay, everything in your life is success. I wouldn't say that now.
Oh, yes.
Everything you do, you breathe, that is success. There's literally an army who quote retweeted and said, "I can breathe," and I was like, "Go you."
You got out of bed today. Go you.
And I don't know.
Yes.
I keep saying I don't know. I do know. This tweet literally went outside of my mutual circle and
Okay,
my
yeah,
the people
very
who
much
know
so.
me. And because of that, people want to project whatever they're feeling onto me. And it's okay, I think you feel that way, not me.
Yeah, for real. For real. If you are someone who's feeling like you haven't accomplished anything or you aren't worth celebrating, then maybe this is a time for you to be like, hey, I'm still alive, and maybe find somebody to help celebrate you.
Yeah. I want to celebrate everyone in this fandom. And it's just guess I'll just never be corny again. I will only be cool and collected.
No, no, no,
Only
no,
cool and collected. I'll
no,
never have my silly little fanfiction rants on
no.
Twitter. I'm never retweeting anything or retweeting anything ever again. We're just gonna be boring and mean. That's just what everyone wants. Again, this is very subtle behind all of this, but just like the shooter mentality and the constantly need to be cool mentality, don't want that. I'm here to be corny and cutesy and hang out with the people that I care about. There's also something I wrote this down too. This tweet, it collects a lot of armies together so that if you need to ask someone about something in the future, you can. Armies. I have my own statistical data as my own person, okay? They're willing to talk and give advice and just give a lot of different things. Like they give you your time, they give you their energy, they give you resources that you would never have gotten yourself if you just ask them.
It's true. As somebody who gives those things quite frequently and readily, I say it's true. Yes. Like I
Yes.
said, my DMs are open. And I am a college professor. I teach college classes and train PhD students and do research on online communities. My DMs are open.
Yeah, I'm gonna very subtly talk about this just to praise Kate really quick. But literally, me knowing Kate, she's literally been able to connect me with like other army professors. And I've been able to talk with so many different professors and academics and PhD students. And I've been able to broaden my perspective on academia and on my academic career. And I was only able to do that because I connected with another army. And that's the whole point of the tweet is about connection. It's about flexing. It's about, hey, celebrate who you are and then connect with other people. And it's really not disheartening to me because I don't care. I no longer care. I've decided that. I've just decided to lock away any amount of care I could give. And people who are trying to reach and project how they are feeling onto the tweet, I simply cannot care about that because my intentions were for connection, were for support, were for armies to find that tweet and to celebrate that tweet and to engage with other people. And that's the point. That's the whole entire point of the tweet. It really goes to show that like once a tweet leaves your moot circle, it is for the masses at that point. It is no longer
So true.
yours.
It's so true.
Also, I'm not deleting it.
No, you
I
shouldn't. There's so much cool stuff under there, though.
but yeah, that's how I feel about it. And it's interesting because once you mute a tweet, no one cares. No one cares. It's not the end of
No,
the world if a bunch of people quote retweet you, if you get ratioed, if people disagree with your point, because you know what you meant in your heart, in your mind. And I really encourage everyone to take this to heart. Don't delete things. Like, don't. Unless something you say is actually super out of pocket. Like I'm talking about, if you're saying something bigoted, it's not the time. When you learn about something and now you've changed your mind, don't delete it. It's your time. Okay? Stand by what you have to say. Because on Army Twitter, you will encounter more people asking you to delete things.
This is true.
If you set a trend for yourself where every time something gets hard, you delete, then you might as well just not tweet anymore. So that's how I feel about it. That's how we're standing about it.
The one thing I will say is that all day today, like when I woke up this morning and your tweet was blowing up in a not great way, it was really fascinating to me how many people decided to jump on that all day about that instead of focusing on the actual issues at hand today, the other big things going on in the world and the comic book thing. Using this tweet, trying to get a gotcha on another army when we have this bigger picture thing going on and we have other much more important social justice issues in the world that we could be focusing on.
Yeah. I literally tweeted it out and then I went to bed because my head hurt. So I was just tweeting that. Good enough. Share some things, everyone hang out, have a good time with that tweet. I'm sleeping. And I slept and I woke up and I was like, that is a lot more people than I thought there were in my mutual circle. I don't have over 2K people talking to me at any given time. And then I was like, that is a lot of strangers. And that is a lot of misinterpreting of my own words. But you cannot force everyone to understand your own intentions for everything. So it's time to let go and live your life. That's how I feel about it. I feel like as I get older, because I remember getting canceled when I was younger and feeling really strongly about it, and it was like super mentally taxing. But now, as I get older, this is just life. Sometimes people won't agree with you and how you say things and how you word things, and honestly, just stand by yourself. Stand by what you've said and know your own intentions and who you are.
Which is like to say it's a very different thing than what we're seeing and the kind of things we're getting from, say, like this comic book company. They're out there tweeting wild things and just moving really weird. And that's a very different thing than when we're talking to fellow army.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's so interesting how on Army Twitter we have so many conversations about being kinder to other armies and having grace and having kindness when it comes to people like making mistakes or wording things weird or not saying the most perfect thing at a given time or being a little ignorant about something. But when it comes time to actually do those things, no one is. Even an ounce of being a little kind. Because that's how it works on Army Twitter. The more kind of gotcha mean you are, the more engagement you get.
Yeah. Yeah.
If people quote retweeting my tweet being like, this is so corny, or quote retweeting and being like, oh, you suck, or KYS, saying all of that, it's people respond better to gotchas and gimmies instead of something that's trying to be positive.
Yeah. And I will say, especially with what you just said, it's interesting how that same energy being used on places like the Tidal Wave Productions. And I don't even agree with it being used in that way with them either, because it's just feeding the narrative that Army is this toxic space, right? And we can do better than this.
Yeah. At a certain point, when it comes to there being issues with things, we have issues with a lot of things. And of course, the first round of people who are talking about it, very valid. This is not to invalidate anyone, but these are people who are first off disputing everything, bringing evidence. Like when I made my initial tweet about it, I dug. I started digging. I was like, okay, cool. Found this sexual assault allegations. Found not paying allegations, finding out about their practices when it comes to creating comics and the people they create comics on. A ton of things. And then I got that all together, compiled into a thread. Boom, there you go, out in the world now. And now I see people taking the stuff I put in my thread and putting it in their threads. And I'm like, Congratulations, world. We've done something. But then there's that first wave. And then the second wave of people that start to come in where they're actually having conversations about the issue and spreading it. And then by the time it's the third wave, it's just people going, like, you suck. And I'm like, you could do better. You could do better. There's better things you could say that could support the argument of the first wave of armies that interacted with this thing. But you're just choosing not to.
Yeah.
Which is undermining the work that the first wave of armies who interacted with this thing did.
Yeah.
So it's time to not only put the responsibility of interacting with things with grace on the first wave of armies, but also with any army who interacts with that thing ever. Because something I think a lot of people don't realize is, or some people don't take to heart and don't truly solidify in their army identity, is how army is a representative of BTS in every type of way.
100%.
There's some people I know who solidify that. They're like, I am a representative of BTS in every type of way, in everything I do. And I'm like, yeah, go you. But there's some people who don't. And we could all do a little more by representing BTS and understanding kind of that thought process. Because I do appreciate that how everyone's interacting with it, but also if all you're going to contribute to something is haha, you suck, maybe turn on that energy, put it somewhere else. We got to be more mindful of where I guess because I'm getting older, I'm thinking about this too. I'm literally turning 20 soon. I'm sorry, my old era incoming, inevitably. I will no longer be young and hip and cool, and I will have to leave Army Twitter so I can pay my taxes and raise kids and live with my husband or whatever. But here I am, okay? Just FYI. We're gonna choose better ways to use our energy. At a certain point, I feel like people are just dunking to dunk. It's time to move on.
Yeah.
And with that comes our conclusion. Kate, take us away.
I wanted to wrap this whole conversation up with some kind of interesting conversation that came in different places last night. And it's something that I have been thinking about for a long time and have talked to other academics and stuff about. But one of the things that everybody initially was upset about with this comic book thing was the fact that they're basically appropriating BTS's image and BTS's story and profiting off of it. And so there comes this question of how is that different if it's fan art or something on Etsy that the army community has made or things like that. And so I wanted to wrap up this episode by having a little conversation about this idea of the gift economy within the army fandom. And there's that magical line between what is appropriate and what is okay in terms of somebody making something like, say, BTS's likeness or whatever and selling it. What is the line there between what is okay and then what is exploitation of our community? And it's one of those things I don't think we can like actually say what the line is. It feels when I see it, I'll know that is too far. The perfect example is this week, while this whole comic book thing was blowing up, there's also been this other person who basically took whiskey bottles and made labels, like stickers for them that you slap on to make them look like it's basically the Golden Album design. And then they were selling those. You could get a PDF that you could print yourself, stickers yourself for $80. Or you could buy like an actual, basically just Jack Daniel's bottle with the labels already stuck on for obscene amounts of money. I think there was some version of it that you could get for $500. Anyway, obviously like way, way too much money. And all the other issues aside, like the person selling alcohol, when I'm pretty sure you have to be licensed to do that. But clearly very much like going into the arena of basically just stealing something because it's literally just the album design. They didn't do much to it other than size it would be what they did, and then selling it for way too much money. So yeah, so thinking about that versus the pins I buy or the stickers I buy for $2 for a pack or whatever it is, or the literally all the art I have up on my wall right now. Those are all kind of acts of love by fans for the fandom within the community versus taking something and selling it to us and trying to exploit our love of BTS. And one is obviously good and one is obviously bad. And I will say that this is something not officially written down anywhere, but is something very clearly that Big Hit also agrees with, because they crack down very heavy on a lot of things, but they tend to let certain things slide. And a lot of it is this fan made, the stuff that isn't venturing too far into the realm of just straight up stealing and exploiting for lots of money.
Yes. I can speak as someone who has been in fandom for a long time that the fandom gift economy is not it's not a surprising or a out of pocket thing. It's
Right.
very common. It's essentially in every single fandom.
I think it's an essential part of fandom, to be honest. It's like when you have a community of any kind of size, you're going to have, especially these communities that are doing a lot of creation. There's a lot of creation going on in this community. If you think of us like a village, we're going to have a little mini economic system within it. And then, like, some of that money actually does change hands, but it's usually very much in a particular kind of ethos, right? And yeah, and this is not just Army, this is literally all fandoms do this.
Yeah. And with all fandoms doing it, there's some companies that respond very poorly to the monetization of fan works. So
Yeah.
anything like fan fiction, fan art, fan edit related, they don't like it. And that actually destroys their fandom.
Yeah.
And the reason you don't hear about it a lot is because all those fandoms are dead.
Yeah.
And I think Big Hit, okay, first off, a couple things here to preface. I think Big Hit, first off, can't control it because we're an international fandom.
There's
They
too much.
they couldn't control it if they wanted to.
Things like, I'll say, even things like fan cams, true fan cams, not fan site fan cams, they could stop us from filming. They could actually be policing phones in concerts, and they don't. And this is the same ethos, is like, they know our fan cams are going to be the thing that we go online and are sharing with everyone. And that is just part of our gift economy. And I think that is a really good indicator of they have a very good pulse of the fandom. They understand what is right and what that line is about, that even we know not to cross it. And it's mostly outsiders that end up crossing that line.
Yeah, like that $500 whiskey bottle lady. We talked about this before, but it's very much like an act of love versus exploitation. There's armies create jewelry inspired by BTS. By the way,
Right.
creating jewelry, extensive process. Extensive. Okay, you see how some people make plushies and people are small business owners and they reveal how they make plushies? It's a whole process. Making jewelry? That's even crazier. Okay?
Yeah.
If you see someone who runs a fandom inspired jewelry store, it's become way more accessible now, but back in my day, that was unheard of. There's a lot of things people do. That is an act of love. You cannot do that easily. And then there's people who exploit, and they always, I wonder why, whenever people are exploiting the fandom, they make really cheap things. Like
Mm-hmm.
slapping a label on a whiskey bottle, making random t shirts no one really particularly cares about that have uninspired designs that are also ugly. I'm not pointing out anyone in particular with this at all. Anyway, but very much like we armies can see exploitation. I don't know, maybe Bigot has a handbook or something in their company where it's like this wrong, this right. They probably should have a handbook on that. That actually would be smart. No one who works at Big Hit is listening to our podcast, but if they ever do, you should probably make that. That would be
Handbook.
helpful. In conclusion of all this, we're not just mad and tired of, well, that one incident. The examples that we've all shared with you here today are just examples of things happening over and over again.
Over and over again.
It very much is clockwork.
Yeah.
It just keeps happening because people will be mad about the same things, will continue trying to exploit the fandom, and I will continue to be canceled on Army Twitter.
Me too. Isn't that great? Isn't it nice, predictable in our lives? At some point we will be canceled.
It really can't bother me anymore. It's just, that's life. I remember when I was younger, people always said, "Oh, once you reach a certain age, you're just gonna stop caring." And me, 15-year-old self me, who cared so much about the world, was like, "I care about everything. What do you mean?" And now that I'm 19, about to turn 20 in 2 months, my Hag Army era, for real. But turning 20 in 2 months, I'm like, oh, I get it now. You just gradually start to care less about things.
Yeah.
And that's okay, right? There's a lot of important things I do care about. And there will be an episode coming out about that sometime in the future. Give us some time.
Yes.
But very much just, I don't need to care about a lot of things. And I think I'm content with that. Any final thoughts, Kate?
I feel like the tidal wave ship has sailed.
Hopefully.
I mean,
Watch they pull out tomorrow a
I know
lawsuit.
they're gonna keep spiraling. They're just gonna keep whatever. They can spiral their ways into inconsequence. But
You want to try predicting something that they're going to do next?
I mean, they're already calling the cops on us. I don't know what else can they do.
I think they're going to go on some type of official
No,
publication.
yeah, they're gonna talk to some journalists. That's what they're gonna do, and then we're gonna get some. We're gonna get LA Times, we're gonna get Forbes, we're gonna get Billboard. Who are all the like stupid heavy hitters that keep coming after us for no good reason? And they're gonna talk to some journalist there who has been waiting in the wings to say something negative about Army, and I can see it now.
And then we'll make a podcast episode reacting to it.
That'll be great.
Maybe
Stay
we'll be
tuned for that.
featured in it. That'd be cool.
That would be cool. We're here, ready. I am happy to chat with whoever.
Yeah. Not chat with the Tidal Wave Productions people. That's
No,
not exciting.
no. Although they haven't blocked me yet, so I haven't been problematic enough. But
It's time to become more problematic, Kate.
I know we're
Your
about to
time.
release a whole podcast on them, so that might be the trigger for that. Yeah.
That just might. But yeah, some final thoughts for me. Basically, Tidal Productions, you suck. Stop hiding things.
Off the internet. Get off the internet. You're done.
Actually get off. It's time. Because you've, number one, either wasted a bunch of money trying to promote this comic book by sending it to publications, or actually, no, you probably did that. You probably did. And
Happened.
now everyone's looking at it, and now you're mad at that because armies are not like other fandoms. Very much. We're here to be who we are. Like, we always look through things. That we're known for this. How do they not know this? We always look through things. People are literally probably trying to comb through my account right now to cancel me. As they always do. I've literally tweeted this out before. I'm like, hey guys, stop following me. I'm 3 to 5 business days away from being canceled by Army Twitter. And literally the next couple days.
Yep.
But that's just what happens. Like, armies take the security of the fandom very seriously.
Yeah.
And you need to respect that. Even if you yourself are getting canceled, you have to respect that.
Yep.
Just, I suggest that the person running the Tidal Wave Productions Twitter account just go silent. Stop doing anything.
Yeah.
Don't do any type of publication or like that, because you will end up embarrassing yourself further, especially if you won't be able to answer questions about the allegations against the author of the comic.
Poor choices
And
were made there in the hiring of that individual.
poor choices. Very poor choices. And if you're also not able to answer the allegations of your company not paying artists. Choices being made here, the incorrect ones being made here. Very much think about that. Ruminate on that. And I wish you the best of luck. Those are a lot of thoughts. Do you have any final thoughts, Katie?
Final thoughts. I'm very tired. I wish people would stop doing this, but I don't know. At least I get to make cool podcasts about it now instead of just screaming into the void.
Live, laugh, love. Woo. We're doing great. But yeah, thank you all so much for listening to this podcast. Please know that if you want to support this podcast, just be a good human being. Go care about
Yes.
something. We've tried plugging the fact that we have a $2.99 subscription.
Yep.
It's awkward. We're not doing that.
Very bad at self-support here. Whatever.
You might hear future episodes where we try to promote it. It sounds awkward and weird. So we might just stop doing it. If you find out about it, you find out about it. But that's life. Okay,
Yeah.
that's it. Everyone, please take care. Love yourself. As BTS say, go stream BTS. Don't buy the comic. We're gonna boycott it. We're boycotting a lot of things right now.
Right.
Anyway, have a good day. Take care. Bye.
Bye.